What's up guys, welcome to Munchkins Gaming, where we take your gaming to the next level. This is Munchkins logging in to bring you another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. And welcome to JP versus JP? I'm not really sure what I'm gonna call this because I don't make a lot of JP videos, to be quite honest. And part of that is I feel like there's quite a lot of JP content creators already, but I thought I'd dip my hand a little bit on this particular fight because I felt like this fight was pretty limiting in certain ways, and I'd just like to kind of give you my thoughts about the fight and how I've dealt with it. If you're struggling with it, then maybe I can offer some options for you. So this is the Cait Sith Lufenia fight, the Lufenia Plus fight. The Cait Sith LD BT, no, sorry, just LD. He doesn't have a BT. So it is the latest event currently in the JP version, and it is the White Priest, or I do believe that's what it's called. So as you guys can see, my team consists of the Cheese team, which consists of Setzer and Vaughn. But I gotta say, this is not the only way to beat this. There are other ways to beat this fight. The reason why I use this is because I don't exactly have a lot of resources left to EX plus my Cait Sith, even though I got his LD, because he was one of my options to actually deal with this fight. And yeah, it's, you know, I was thinking of maybe buffing myself to do the damage that I need to do, and, you know, apply those debuffs as well with Gabron's Call or Faris's Call. Those were my options, and hopefully there are options for you as well. So yeah, so Cheese team, Agrias is probably the main reason, or the main character to use if you want to cheese this fight. And the idea for that is basically, once you kill the two little minions that the priests have, you can sort of stun lock the boss to the end of the fight, basically. So Agrias has both 100% paralysis, and you can get away with the Confuse as well, which is 100% as long as you use her LD and then use her Brave Attack afterwards. So the thing with that stun locking is there are HP threshold where the boss will put itself in the front of the turn order, and I do believe they are somewhere along the lines of 79% and less than 40% maybe. I'm not 100% sure on that, because sometimes bursts, you know, like if you use burst or summon, it can mess it up a little bit. But you're welcome to correct me if I'm wrong. But in this particular instance, it happened on me at less than 80%, which is around 79% obviously, and below 40% as well. So basically what you have to do is make sure that you actually have either a paralysis on the boss or a confuse on the boss during those times. And obviously you have to make sure that it is also paralyzed or confused whenever it takes its turn. That is the easiest way to deal with this fight, and you will see that I actually messed up earlier here as well, because I really thought it was less than 50% for the second HP threshold, which obviously didn't happen. So yeah, that was a mistake, but I still dealt with it and managed to deal with it, and, you know, still managed to beat this fight using this team. Now, as for other teams that you might want to consider, I already mentioned a few characters that you can definitely bring in order to deal a decent amount of damage, and that is using call abilities like Faris or Gabronth, which, you know, will help you do a much better overall brave damage, because the biggest thing with Lufenia Plus or even Lufenia is your damage starts to dwindle down as the fight goes on. Even at the start, as you guys might notice sometimes as well, you are already dealing 1 damage. And I brought Odin as my summon in order to reduce the amount of defense that the enemy have, because with certain teams, I think I had caught Vaughn and Setzer at one point. At the start of the fight, I was already dealing like 1 damage and less than 1,000 damage per brave attack on my COD, and Vaughn was dealing like 1 damage already. So it's really something that you may consider bringing along. Obviously, having a Ramuh helps here as well. You can use him and summon him, and you can paralyze the boss at least for 1 turn. So that is a guaranteed one. Obviously, you have to do it when the boss is by itself, because if it's in its invulnerable state, you will not be able to paralyze it. So I know a few people have brought Ramuh along, but if you're planning to bring Ramuh along, I do suggest having good debuffers and buffers in your team. Like I said, Faris is one of the best call abilities on this one, since a lot of her debuffs are framed. Well, all of them are, I think. So this gives the boss less chance to buff themselves, increase its speed, and all that jazz. And having a good buffer to increase your own attack will help you deal a decent amount of damage. The buffer that comes to mind right now is obviously Cait Sith, but there are other characters as well that can do this. For example, Yuna can give you a decent buff and can Esuna the debuffs that you actually have. So if you have Yuna, you can probably consider her as well. She might not be doing a ton of damage, at least mine doesn't, because I don't have character boards on mine. But I'm sure if you have character boards and maxed out, she'll do a decent amount of damage, if not at least be able to give you a good brave battery. Otherwise, that is the best way to deal with this, is to have some sort of brave poison damage, and both Faris and Gabranth's call ability kind of fulfill this role. And I do believe Yuffie's call ability as well can do this with her LD call. I do believe that gives does brave damage as well. So that is another option. You can have a friend support like the Cloud of Darkness to help you out as well, because she can passively do brave damage on the enemy's turn, and that way you're able to fulfill the Lufenia orb and continue to do damage. The reason why Agrias is ideal on this one is because it just saves you a lot of turns, because every time you fight those little priests, even little ghosts, it takes a lot of your turn count. And the thing with Lufenia Plus, sometimes there's less turn counts, and it's tighter, and so you don't really want to be wasting your time dealing with that, and delaying the boss too much isn't really ideal unless you're doing rebreaks. Like for example, you have Cloud of Darkness that can rebreak, and you can have Vayne as well that can do rebreaks as well, to increase the orb in just enough times to do a decent amount of damage. So and then not be able to get to the boss's turn and basically lower the Lufenia orb count to 0. So ideally you don't delay the boss too much, since it does need to have a turn. but at the same time, this is the management that you have to do. So hopefully those tips kind of help you guys, you know, just be able to do a decent amount of damage in Lufenia Plus is a struggle. That's what I find, and so I tend to use Setzer quite often just to bypass that stupid defenses that the devs have put on these bosses. But obviously, like I said, if you have a good buffer and a debuffer, you can still hit those brave damage count. And I'm sure there's a lot of videos out there showing a team without Setzer, and because I've already seen some, but to me, I just want to make things as simple as possible for myself, and that's why I have Setzer. And Setzer can actually use freeze as well, which can definitely help with the brave damage, or you know, from the enemy boss if you are very, very tight. So and he can delay as well to a certain extent. Even just one turn delay is good enough. I don't want to be delaying the boss for like 2 or 3 turns, because that just messes up a lot of the turn order, and you can mess up the Lufenia orb counter. So yeah, 1 turn delay is enough, 1 rebreak at a time. Anyway, hopefully all those things that I've said here helped you guys. I'm not exactly sure how much help I am to the JP community, but if you are new to the JP community, and you know, you've been watching my global videos and you want to get into it, and you're having issues, hopefully I've been able to help you out in any shape, way, or form. Obviously, if you find that there's something that I missed or something like that, you're welcome to leave down in the comments below. I would like to know if I did miss something. I would you know, pin it if it's very, very important. That's like a very good piece of information that I missed out. I will pin that comment below. Anyway, I think I'll end the video right here. Please do remember to click like and subscribe if you haven't already. It does help the channel, guys, and I would really appreciate it. Share the video as well if you do find it helpful in any shape or form to any of your friends or stuff like that. Would really appreciate it. And you can always follow me on Twitter and on Facebook at Munchkins Gaming. This is Munchkins logging off. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next level.